Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icelandair, head out to show, or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
That means it is time for more Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything in Idle Champions. If the game would show up, and my camera decided to not show up. Hold on. It's Saturday morning, folks. It needs its coffee. I don't drink caffeine, but my webcam does. So I forgot to pour it in. Hey, that's better. I think. I hope that's better. If people are like, go back to no camera, I'm going to be upset. But that's fine. That's fine. Welcome, everybody. Today we are here to talk about the trio on the screen, the family that fights together. The Brimstone Angels and their dad. But we're just going to refer to it as the Brimstone Angels because it's kind of, if there was an affiliation, that's what it would be, and it would be all three of them. Yeah. So we're going to do that today. The code should now be live. And you go there and you hit unlock a locked chest and you put the code in and it gives you something. That easy, folks. That easy. Woo. Oh. Bright lights make me cry already. It's that or it's the heart formation for Mahen. That definitely did it for me. So we're going to talk about Mahen and Farida and Gaarawarr. Did I put them all in their base skins? Yes. Okay. Oh, I don't have that one yet. It seems so off-brand. So for those of you, if you haven't been to this show before, on the Saturday show, I talk for like an hour, and I don't do questions for the first hour. You can ask questions in chat. We have Jay on the CD Games account pulling questions and putting up in a document for me. So that after the break, we're going to take a break about halfway through. After the break, we'll come back and then I'll answer questions. So you can always ask questions early. Just know I won't be stopping in the first hour to answer questions. I will address them in the second hour. I'll target any questions actually related to the three of these wonderful champions first, and then we'll go into just general when we're done. Sound good? I hope so. Let me sure. Yeah. Got all the things on. Okay. Well then, let's begin. I feel like I mean, I think we're going to do this in reverse bench slot order. I think we're going to start with Javi, and we're going to work back. So Havilar. First off, Havilar and Farida and Mahen, all of these, the Brimstone Angels, books. Actual books, folks. This is where these characters came from. These are D&D books written by the wonderful Aaron M. Evans, who is one of the hosts of Champions of Lore on this channel. Yeah. So this isn't just like, you know, these aren't stream characters. Javi has been played on a stream or two, but, you know, these originally came from books. So there is a lot of lore about them. There are 6 books you can go and read. And everything is kind of based thematically around the lore. So if you're wondering, well, why are certain things functioning, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that. Farida and Havilar are twin sisters. The only real difference between them is Javi has 2 gold eyes, but Farida has a gold eye and a silver eye. Yeah, but other than that, yeah. So Havilar is our tank support champion. You can tell up here, a tiefling fighter. Setup, you know, overall fairly straightforward. Glaive thrust as the base attack. Havilar cleaves the closest enemy with her glaive, hitting all nearby enemies. So you get a small AoE, roughly the size of the glaive. Because she is tanking support, her items are going to be based off that type of situation. So you see 2 damage all champions. You see health, which is obviously something you need for a tank. And then we get some abilities, which we'll get into in a moment. So that's nice. So you get 2 abilities. And then the ultimate attack damage. No ultimate cooldown reduction for Havilar, for reasons that we're going to talk about. She's got a real low cooldown ult, so it's not necessary. So if we get into the leveling, let me just throw tons of levels into Havilar here. There we go. So the very first ability she gets is her ultimate, which that's unusual right away. Summon Imps. So whenever you hit her ultimate, it starts off as Summon Imps. Mott and another Imp are summoned. The Imps attack with the fire of Asmodeus, or Asmodeus, whatever you want to call him. If he gets upset, he'll let you know. This is what's going to happen right away. You always, as it says, Mott and another Imp. So there are 3 different Imps that could be summoned alongside Mott. We'll go over what each of those does in a bit, but here's what it looks like. You hit it, she spins her glaive, out come 2 Imps. And as you can see, they throw fireballs, so, you know, that's neat. And that's on top of her stuff. She will attack, they will attack. You get both. So that's nice. But what happens is once you hit that button, and it goes through its cooldown cycle, then her ultimate becomes Heroic Sacrifice. The Imp that isn't Mott flings itself at the nearest enemy and explodes, dealing massive damage in a large area and slowing all affected enemies. As soon as the ultimate is used, Havilar's ultimate attack reverts to Summon Imps with a short cooldown. So this is a kind of a transformative ultimate. It changes each time you use it, and it swaps between Summon Imps and Heroic Sacrifice. I do want to point out, Havilar's got shenanigans. If you note, I said it does massive damage and it slows all affected enemies. If you cycle through this ultimate over and over and over and over, that slow that hits does not go away, and it stacks with itself. So people create shenanigans with Havilar where they get a boss on the screen, they slow it and they knock it back, and they slow it to the point where it doesn't move anymore. And then they can do whatever they want, and it'll never touch them. So, for you Azaka farmers out there wondering how sometimes, people farm lone enemies or lone bosses, if you got Havilar, that's the way to do it. Next ability up. Everything, I'm just going to tell you right now, the code should have given this away. Everything about Havilar is based around her imps. So we're going to talk about exactly how those imps affect things in a moment. Let me get through all of the base ability stuff, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the different functions of the imps. Leadership Summit. Havilar increases the damage of all champions in the 2 columns behind her. And the ability is augmented by whichever imps are currently assisting her. So A, you get a buff, and B, you get other effects. But it is just 2 columns, so whenever you're setting this up, you do want to make sure your DPS, who's going to be Farida, is within 2 columns of Havilar. I mean, you could use anybody with Havilar, but we're demonstrating all 3 of them together today. So, Infernal Fortitude increases the health of all other champions in the formation by 25% of Havilar's max. That's the standard tank health share. That's what you're looking for with the tank to help increase the durability of your entire team. I mean, it helps your other tanks on the tank line and multi-tank formations, but it also helps the rest of your party who do not gain health like tanks do normally when you're doing adventures where the whole party is taking damage. So when you're fighting, well, a big one people will talk about lately is Valendra Shadow Mantle, which is the Dragonbait variant boss, but also Oral, the Frost Maiden in Icewind Dale, that first level 50 boss on the very first adventure that just wrecks your party. Well, it wrecks your party, A, because that's a very hard campaign, but B, it's a single tank formation. A lot of people think that, oh, well, single tank formation, I only need to put 1 tank in here. Debated. Yeah, you need multiple. Fiendish Resolve. When any fiend is in the area, Havilar focuses less on her own attacks and more on buffing the party. Her base attack cooldown is doubled. Wow. But the effective leadership summon is increased by 100%. So she stops attacking and she makes everybody else stronger. If you're reading that and you're going, what? This is a direct lore pull. Because Farida and Havilar are both chosens of spoilers on books that have been out for years, so it's not really spoiler. Chosens of Asmodeus. Whenever technically it's whenever a demon in the books, it's whenever she's around a demon, but in the game they changed it to fiends because that just functionally is better. That's all they differentiate here. Normally, whenever a demon is around, she gets kind of sick to her stomach and queasy and doesn't like it, can't really focus until she tags somebody to be her champion and imbues them with a lot of power to go kill that demon. And then she does better. So this is how they translated that into the game. Basically, she's not going to attack as much, but everybody else gets more damage. Battlemaster. Each time Havilar attacks, she increases the damage of all champions for each enemy that she hit. Remember, her basic attack is a small AoE. It stacks additively up to a max of 20 stacks. And the effect lasts for half of Glaive Thrust base cooldown currently. This is going to change a bit as it levels up. So keep that in mind. So she does get a buff when she does attack, which is nice. Ultimate. So you can either get Speedy Sacrifice or Mastery Battle. Speedy Sacrifice is basically built around, hey, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to punch that ultimate over and over and over again. And I'm going to rely on the imp damage to blow stuff up, like when they're blowing up. So it decreases the cooldown of Havilar's Summon Imp ultimate to 10 seconds. So it cuts it in half. So you get them out faster. You know, if all you're doing is bringing her in to do Havilar shenanigans with the slow, then there you go. Mastery of Battle. Increase the duration of Battlemaster's effect by 100%. So remember, Battlemaster is when she hits something, she gets a buff for half of her base attack cooldown. This makes it the full cooldown. So that ensures that the buff is always up. I don't tend to do lots of Havilar shenanigans, so I tend to just run Mastery Battle. Yeah, just letting you know. You choose whichever one you want based off that information, but there you go. So let's go down. That was Battlemaster and Mastery Battle. Yeah, that's everything for Havilar, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to hop over well, let's go feats. She does have some extra feats. Like this is this is currently the only feat in the game that increases a stat score by more than 1. She gets charisma by 2. She's got her health stuff. She's got damage all champions. She's got some overwhelm if you want to go that route. And then of course she's got leadership summit, which is usually, that's going more into her kit. She's got a Constitution one. This is brand new. We're going to talk about, actually, let's go. This is part of the Sibling Rivalry Weekend. Where right now, they're both buffed. But if you buy chests this weekend, you get feats instead of like a GE. One is 120% damage for Farida, who is a DPS, so that's a big deal. And the other one is this Constitution one that we just saw. This basically qualifies her for Vajra as a patron. So having an extra champion in Vajra is nice. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to be picking that up. I wanted to be able to show it to everyone now that I've shown it to all of you after the show's over and buying it. So those are pretty straightforward. So let's go talk about... you can find this base information here, and it shows you outgoing effects. It'll show you, hey, this is what Mott does and this is what Dembo does for the 2 abilities. It's both Leadership Summit and Fiendish Resolve. They both get effects. Unfortunately, it doesn't show you what the other ones do. It only shows you what the active one does. So I'm going to hop out, instead of doing this here, I'm going to hop out. And I'm going to read from my guide on the Reddit. Because of course. There's a Year 3 Champion Guide to Gaarawarr. And it has all of this information in it, so you can read it whether your imps are out or not. For Leadership Summit, again, Mott is the one that will always be out when imps are out. And it's the other 3 that get rotated through are Dembo, Alla, and Bosch. Dembo is always the first one, so they always come out in the same order. Dembo always comes out first. After Dembo blows up, Alla comes out. After Alla blows up, Bosch comes out. Bosch blows up, it's back to Dembo. So they'll rotate. Again, this is kind of a lore pull with video game modifications. I won't go into that. They're trying to kind of talk a little bit about the lore, but in a fun, gamified way. So Mott, for Leadership Summit, will always increase the effective Leadership Summit by 400% on Tieflings. It's almost like they want you to play Gaarawarr with Farida. Obviously, it works with other Tieflings and not just Farida. Alla, so the second one, increases the effective Leadership Summit by 50% for each enemy Gaarawarr is tanking. Allergies are hitting this morning. So Dembo, basically, like we said, Dembo is... that was Alla. Mott increases Leadership Summit by 400% on Tiefling champions, so that's just damage all the time. Dembo increases the effective Leadership Summit by another 200%, but for anyone. So that's kind of the damage setup. You have Mott and Dembo out. That's just full on just damage, but you're not tanking anything, so you're not to the point where lots of enemies are building up. So you bring out Alla. Alla increases effective Leadership Summit by 50% for each enemy Gaarawarr is tanking. And that, obviously, as long as you're tanking 5 or more enemies, that's better than having Dembo out, right? Because Dembo's effect was 200%. So Alla's effect is 50% for each enemy. So when you get to the point later on where you're tanking a lot of enemies, you're going to get more damage by switching to Alla. Now, Bosch is specifically built around bosses, so increases the effective Leadership Summit by 400% if there are enemy or boss in rage stacks active. So this basically makes Gaarawarr a very active tank. If you want to maximize the buffs, you can just sit it on someone and just leave it and try to get by. But if you're trying to milk every last point of damage out and adjust to situations, you can. And so one is just general killing. The other is killing when there's lots of enemies on Gaarawarr. And the other one is killing the boss, right? Now, Fiendish Resolve also gets modified based off what imps are out. So again, Mott always out. Mott increases the effective leadership summit by 25% per fiend on the screen. And that's per fiend enemy. It stacks additively, but then applies multiplicatively. So, 25%. If there's, well, technically you can have 100 enemies on the screen, but I would hope you had killed everything by that point. But if you got there, that would be 2,500% of a bonus. But basically, Fiendish Resolve is Gaarawarr doesn't like fiends, and she's going to kill fiends. So 25% per fiend enemy on the screen. If you have Dembo out with her, so the very first rotation, if you have Dembo out with Mott, fiends have a 50% chance of dropping 2 quest items or counting for 2 kills when killed. This is Gaarawar's speed effect. So Gaarawar's speed effect kicks in under Fiendish Resolve. It's the very first rotation, so you literally just you hit the ult once, and then you cruise if you're setting up a speed run. Alla, so if you hop into the second fiend, fiends take 100% additional damage from ultimate attacks. So this is very specific, saying, well, this is going to help you do more damage with your ults, and that does include, just setting up and hitting things like, Crawl's ult, which does, tons of ticks damage, whatever. It's always going to take double damage from ultimate attacks. While Alla is out, that's the second rotation. Third rotation with Bosch, you have the damage Gaarawarr takes from all attacks, and triple the damage of Heroic Sacrifice. So basically, this is her tanking build. So if you really need to make her, a lot tankier, she's going to take half the damage, so 50% damage reduction, from all attacks. So not even just fiends. All attacks if you have got Bosch out. Again, this is kind of, if we look back to the first rotation, because again, these are happening in coordination with Leadership Summit. This is set up for that boss fight, right? With boss and rage stack. So they're basically trying to let you last a little longer while facing a boss. And then if you do the blow up, instead of double damage from Alla, you're going to get triple damage from Bosch. So they're trying to give you some finishers against the boss. And that is all of Gaarawar's stuff. So Gaarawarr is very much about the imps, as we can see. This is Mott and Dembo, and you'll learn the colors. So Dembo is that kind of a cinder red. Come on, sacrifice. There we go. So that's what Heroic Sacrifice looks. That just flies off. And Mott hangs around for a bit. So you don't lose Mott's effect right away, but you lose the effect of the other. You should lose the effect of the other. Yeah, they're gone. And then Mott will go away completely about halfway through the cooldown. I'm going to turn progress off so that we can get our cooldown back quickly. So whenever, obviously, when the imps are gone, you're losing all the effects of any of the imp-based stuff from Leadership Summit and Fiendish Resolve. And then once it's back, you summon them back out again. And hey, there's Alla. Alla's the blue. Alla's the blue imp. And then, go right back into, hey, go blow up. And then they just kind of disapparate, appear over here and blow up. Hey, there we go. Launch across the screen. And you just rotate like that, right? That's it. That's Gaarawarr and her imps, and why our code today is, hey, imping ain't easy. You gotta keep in mind all that stuff and all the different effects, and figure out what you want to do if you're gonna go the full imp manipulation path. And here's Bosch. Bosch is the blackened demon. So you rotate through red, blue, and black, and then back again. And it's always gonna circle around and repeat. Always going to circle around and repeat. Now, keep in mind, Gaarawarr is like I said, a year 3 champion. That means her event has already passed for this year, but next year she will still return. She's not going to be swapped out to time gates only. So you still have a way to get her naturally, but it is a ways. It is a ways from now. It's going to be the Grand Revel, and the Grand Revel was 5 events ago, and there's 17 events in a year, so we got a ways to go to get back to Havilar. So if you want to pick her up anytime soon, you're going to have to get her out of a time gate. You're going to have to get her out of a time gate. All right, let us talk about Havilar. Now, Havilar is only available now out of a time gate. Havilar was a High Harvesttide champ in year 2, and High Harvesttide is the first event of every event cycle, so that was a while ago. So year 2's already gone by. Now, the only way you're ever going to get Farida is out of a time gate. Farida is our DPS. Frida's our DPS. Let me throw some points into Farida. Here we go. Again, Tiefling Warlock this time, DPS. That's all she is. She doesn't do support. She has some damage all champs bonuses. So in a pinch, if you have no one else, you could throw her in for a little bit of a bonus as a support, but usually what you want out of Farida is the deeps. Base attack, Scorching Ray. Farida creates 3 rays of fire and hurls them at random enemies. So that means she is a multi-attack champion. So she gets 3 hits on anything. So whether it's armor or a segmented health, you're getting multiple credit. Because she is a DPS, she does have a pure DPS items. So 2 damage for herself items. She gets 2 that are based off her abilities, and then she goes to ultimate attack damage and cooldown reduction. Hellish Rebuke is her first ability, and kind of what you base things around. Enemies that hit Farida or champions adjacent to Farida take damage equal to a % of her DPS, and obviously once you buff this up, it's greater than 100%. So this is actually where her damage comes from. Her damage doesn't come from her basic attacks. Her big damage, like her highest potential damage, comes from Hellish Rebuke. Which means, you have to build accordingly. Right now, as it stands, this is enemies adjacent her or enemies adjacent to her. So, at this point in my leveling, she would need to be right behind and adjacent to a tank. Preferably to both. This formation wouldn't allow that. I'm just going to move her back just for explanation purposes. Chosen of Asmodeus, Hellish Rebuke now affects champions adjacent to Farida. Oh, that's right. Because originally it starts out as just her. Chosen of Asmodeus makes it adjacent to her. Again, they still use Farida's DPS. Pact Family increases damage of Farida by 100% for every tiefling in the formation. This is originally one of the things we were like, add more tieflings. Let's make Farida just OP. And then they didn't add more tieflings because they were worried about making Farida OP. But they've kind of adjusted how this applies, and now it's not as big of a deal. I think previously it was multiplicative, and now it's additive. So it's nice to have more tieflings, but it's not as nice as if it was a multiplicative effect. All right. Specs. Dark One's Luck versus Dark One's Blessing. This is a little confusing because Makos has the same named specs. I don't know why. But, hey, the picture's different. So just remember, they function different for the different champions. So Dark One's Luck, Hellish Rebuke now affects champions within 2 slots of Farida. And again, they still return damage using Farida's DPS, because if they use their own, that would be pointless. Whereas Dark One's Blessing just doubles her damage. So in a situation where you can have her adjacent to the DPS, or the tank, or tanks, and you don't need to fiddle with extending the range of Hellish Rebuke, then you can just double her damage. Otherwise, you extend the range, right? If you need to move her back. So it's just... her spec is very formation dependent in terms of where you're placing her. So in this formation, she would go here, no matter what. Like, she could go here or here, because she wants to hit both of these tank slots with Hellish Rebuke, so that you make sure that, no matter where the enemies are piling up, they're getting killed off with the Hellish Rebuke. Again, I'm just going to back her up for clear visual demonstration because those imp wings are big. Imp wings are big. So there we go. If you'll notice, hey, look, there's nothing else. Guess what, folks? She just hits things. She just hits things. That's what she does. She hits things, and when they hit her, she hits back. I do want to talk a little bit more about Hellish Rebuke, though. There are situations in a formation not like the one we're in right now, but where you have enemies clumped up, or you have the champions clumped up. They're all adjacent to each other, like, say, Sword Coast. You can place Farida in the middle of the Sword Coast formation, and everyone is within 2 adjacent when you choose the left spec, when you choose Dark One's Luck. Why does that matter? Why does that matter? Because sometimes you're facing enemies that are hitting everyone in your party, and if you have Hellish Rebuke extended to everyone in your party, and that enemy thwaps everyone in your party, they take Hellish Rebuke from everyone in your party. This is fantastic when those bosses are segmented health or armored, because it just makes all those segments just disappear. It just makes those segments disappear. So keep this in mind. That's one of the great things. Whenever I go into a situation and I find out on a variant or an adventure that the boss is segmented or armored and AoEs the entire party, I'm like, oh, this is a Farida. This is a Farida variant. This was built for Farida with Hellish Rebuke. Let me see if I can get everyone near Farida. Can I build this formation around Farida so that everybody's taking this outrageous Hellish Rebuke damage and just rip through the boss? And yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I like it when that happens. That does work against Valendra, if you're wondering. It also works against, like, Tree Blight. So there's lots of great uses for that. So keep that in mind. That's one of my favorite things to do with Farida. Infernal Aspect is her ultimate. Farida taps into her Infernal Bloodline, pushing enemies away, slowing them, and damaging nearby enemies. I believe it also does damage a random enemy for 15 seconds. So this isn't going to... I kind of stopped. This isn't going to really do anything against these things that we're killing instantly. But basically, it just does a nice massive pushback, slows them all to keep them away, and just slowly ticks down damage. There's a bit of an irony here, because you want them hitting your tanks for Hellish Rebuke, but her ult pushes them off. So it's kind of a survivability thing. If you need to get them off your tanks for a second so they can heal back up, this is how you do it, right? This is how you do it. But yeah, she gets the wings come out. She does this while these flaming kind of wings are out. That's what I refer to them. That's the 15-second, should be the 15-second damage to whoever she applied the damage dot to. That's Farida. Oh, we need to go Feats. Feats for Farida. Hey, look at that. Self DPS. Pact family. So, you know, if you're building around other tieflings, you got Pact family. Otherwise, you've got self DPS, which comes normally at a 60 and a 30. But then the new one, again, that will be getting later, 120%. And then she gets a wisdom one. Some feats are just kind of exist. Does that qualify off the top of my head? Hold on. I feel like Guess the Right Focus just wants 13, but I could be wrong. No, it's 14. Okay, so that would qualify her for Guess the Right Focus, which is Narak's ability, which then probably affects Hellish Rebuke. Hold on. Is that... So if we put, see, I'm testing right on screen, live. We're doing it live, folks, because I don't normally use Narak with Farida, but normally Hellish Rebuke would be 4,400% of her damage. Oh, I need to go put that feat in. I'm already there, Gaarawarr. Stop closing the dang thing. Yeah, 6,600 now. So yeah, this does affect Hellish Rebuke. So if you want more Hellish Rebuke damage, and you don't have anyone else, because here's the thing, normally you wouldn't bring Narak just in for that. That's not enough of an increase. but it's a thing. It's a thing. And sometimes Narak is all you've got available. So sometimes that's just how you play the game. You got to use whatever you got available. So that's Havilar, that's Farida. Mahen, I think people are a little more familiar from Mahen. We covered him last week on this show. Gaarawarr's Guide to the Great Modron March, but we'll dive back into him again because now he works better. I know people aren't super happy with Mahen because they're like, his grumpy stacks are never where we want them to be. Well, yeah, he's definitely going to be harder to use, and probably not as effective to use on his own. But when you introduce his daughters, I mean, thematically appropriate that he rises to the occasion. Mahen's Dragonborn Daddy, Dragonborn Fighter, support and gold find. Keep in mind the gold find really only kicks in with Farida DPS. Is there a little bit there off himself? We'll go over it, but it's really just if you're using Farida DPS, that's when he's got gold find. Double strike. Mahen leaps out and attacks a random enemy, swings up and then down and then up, scoring a hit each time. So he is a double hit, so a multi-hit. So we'll take 2 chunks off of segmented stuff. As support gold find, he has as support, he has support-ish stuff. He does have an item for his gold find, though. So damage all champions, 2 of those. His grumpy and gruff abilities, which we'll go over. His exiled ability, which is his gold find one, and then he has a ultimate cooldown. And this is important because his ultimate is one of the ways you manage his stacks. Mahen breathes a cone of lightning that damages all enemies on the screen, potentially optimizing grumpy. What does that mean? Well, you get more information over here. If he damages more than 5 enemies, so 6 or more, then his grumpy stacks are set to 50, and he gains and lose stacks at 10% of the normal rate. We're going to go, we haven't gone over his abilities yet, but for those of you who know, this kind of locks him into the sweet spot where you want him. So his ultimate is one of the best ways to manage his grumpy stacks. So let's talk about Grumpy. Mahen buffs the DPS of champions in his column and all columns in front of him. That's kind of one of the reasons I put him all the way in the back. That's not going to be his ideal situation, and we'll talk about that. This buff is highest at 50 stacks, falling off sharply beyond 10 stacks on either side. So you want to stay in that sweet spot of 40 to 60 stacks. You will do this in a variety of ways. We'll talk about that. One, again, is his ultimate. Gruff. Mahen increases the effect of his grumpy buff on champions based on how many columns ahead of him they are. It starts at 100% and doubled for each additional column. Now, I want to call out something like this. This is like Pact Family in the sense that this is a nice bonus if it makes sense. But if it doesn't, don't worry about it. There are a lot of bonuses like this in the game. So Pact Family is like that, 100% for more tieflings. That doesn't mean you just throw all the tieflings in because 100% isn't necessarily something you really fight for. It's nice if you can get it, but you don't just go out of your way to get it. Who's someone else that's like this? Shaka in his puzzles is another recent champion that it's nice if you can align all the puzzle slots, but you don't go screwing up your formation just to do it. So keep that in mind. This is the same with Gruff. Right, the big buff is Grumpy. You want to focus on Grumpy. Gruff is just a nice thing you can get if you get it. Exiled. Kills by Farida, Havilar, or Mahen grant more gold. This is why I said basically Farida. This is for Farida DPS. Because once you get to your wall, Havilar and Mahen aren't killing anything. They just aren't. They're not DPS champions. They're not going to kill anything, so they're not going to get you any more gold. They'll get you a little more gold like right now if they were the ones that are killing things right now, but we don't really need more gold right now. You need more gold when you start getting close to your wall. So Exiled really is a Farida gold find boost. And the Brimstone Angels is another reason that there should be an affiliation here called Brimstone Angels. Increase the effect of Grumpy by 1% if Farida is in the formation, and furthermore, again, if Havilar is in the formation, and those multiply against each other. So basically, if you have both of them, Grumpy is even better. Even better. So again, this is why I'm saying Mahen is really built to be in a formation with his daughters. Period. This is a lore champion that is built thematically appropriate to his lore. He needs to be with his daughters to be himself. So I know that's rough if you're a new player and you only have Mahen and you don't have Farid and Havilar, but there's over 80 champions in the game now. There are going to be champions, now, here's one example, and more in the future that are real niche champions that only get used in very specific situations for the most part. Mahen is one of those. Mahen is one of those. There is room in the roster for champions like that. Now, this is another way to manage grumpy stacks. And we're going to go in depth into the primary way of doing it in a moment. But Cheer Up Pops will actually make him get one more stack, regardless of what column he is. It gains them one more every time they tick up, and increases Grumpy by 400%. So this is another Grumpy magnifier, but also gets you more stacks. If you don't have Farid and Havilar, or one or the other, this is probably not the best thing for you, because it's probably going to make you gain stacks way too quick, and you won't be able to get rid of them. So keep that in mind. You may have to go over here, which is kind of a waste, but it's you're not getting this bonus, but you're not really getting a bonus if you don't have Free and Havilar, because we've trained for this. Increases gold find, but only, again, we talked about, it's really only for Frida. So increases the effect of exile based on how far from the front of the formation that Mahen is placed. So kind of like Gruff. This teams up with Gruff. Effect is increased by 20% for each column stacking multiplicatively. So basically, do you need an extra stack? Can you handle an extra stack of Grumpy? If not, you go with the right one. You go with the right one. We can handle it. We can handle all the Grump. We can handle all the Grump. We may throw on, we're going to throw on some speed. Apologies if this gets real fast. But we need to get a little further to really demonstrate some of this stuff. So that's Grumpy Gruff exiled. That's his specs. We chose Cheer Up Pops. Yeah, that's it. That's all of it. We need to talk a little bit more in detail about how Grumpy works, because that tends to be what everybody wants to know, is how do you manage Grumpy? Well, we've talked about a couple of ways. One is his ultimate. That's the big deal, if you can land it. Again, managing Grumpy is all about managing Grumpy at your wall, like towards your wall. Towards the end of your runs is really where you can start managing Grumpy. And a lot of the effects that are based around managing Grumpy are based around being near your wall. So an ultimate hitting 6 enemies, that's not going to happen when you're insta-killing stuff like we are right now, right? It's got to happen later. So that's something you want to keep in mind. You're going to give yourself a headache trying to micromanage him early on in a run. He's just always going to max out like he is over here. So how does Grumpy go up and down? One is based off where he's placed. Like he's only going to gain 1 stack every tick here, as you can see. I put him up here, and now those stacks are dropping like a rock, right? Now he gains 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, and 5 back here, which is why it pegs out, right? So in this situation, we know we would want Farida right behind this line, so we can put Mahen either here or here, because remember, he buffs in his column or ahead. Ideally, we want him behind, because ideally we want him getting at least 1 column of multiplier for Gruff, but we don't know how, until we get to our wall, we don't know how that's going to affect this specifically, but that is one way to modify him. We could just move him up here. He's going to gain fewer and be in that range a little more often. So right now, while we're just flying along, that's probably the best place for him. We're not there yet. Okay. Now, what other things affect it? So one is just moving him through the columns. The other, stacks were removed based on the actions of Mahen, Farida, or Havilar. He loses 10% of his stacks if any of the party member, if any of the 3 of them are attacked. Oh, no, wait. If they attack. Well, both. If they attack is the first one. If they're attacked is the second. So 10% stacks if they take damage. But it's a 4-second shared cooldown. So what does that mean? That means if you are in the aforementioned variant where the entire party gets hit with AoEs, you're only losing 10%, and it's a shared cooldown, and it's every 4 seconds. So you can't necessarily stack lots of that over and over and over again. And then 5% stacks if any of them get a kill with a base attack. Well, again, usually that's going to be Farida when you're close to your wall. Now, here we can take familiars off and start killing stuff. And if we're just manually killing things, you'll notice if you look at his meter, his little lightning meter, it's staying pretty managed. It's staying pretty managed right there. It's actually staying towards the bottom. Yeah. When it's ticking down towards the bottom. So in this case, we might be able to move him here, and then his tick would be towards the middle and the top. So there, yeah. So right now I have managed Mahen's stacks based off placement, but I also have Farida and Havilar killing things, and him killing things, and that's reducing his stacks. But that is with the left spec where I'm earning more stacks than normal. So I am in the third column here. Normally that would be 3 stacks, but I picked the left spec, so I'm earning 4 stacks. And now he's bouncing just kind of perfectly in the middle of his meter. Which is kind of where you want him, right? If you do not have Farida and Havilar, obviously it's going to work. But again, we are talking about all of them together. So right now, yeah, he's staying. You can watch it over here. I don't necessarily watch this, I'll be honest. I just watch the meter. But if you want to see exactly what's literally happening, you can watch that over here. You can watch it over here. Yeah. That's effectively how you manage the stacks. When we get to a place where we can see some enemies built up, we'll lock in. I'll fire off the lightning breath and we'll lock in the meter. But I mean, we can do it right now and see what. There, it just kind of. I have some of the effects turned off, and then we have speed on, so it wasn't going to show you the thing. But he basically jumps out. It's easier if they're closer to the formation. He jumps out and then does this huge lightning breath. Which is really cool looking, and then jumps back. But because he's jumping all the way to the side of the screen, and we have speed effects on, you just don't see it. So that is the Brimstone Angels. That's all 3. It's all 3. We'll let them just run along here and do their thing. But this would be a rough, like in this Mahen layout formation. This would be a rough setup for them. Obviously, we would need to fill in the rest of the formation to really maximize what's going on. But for demonstration purposes, here they are. Mahen's Feats. We've got Grumpy, we've got Brimstone Angels, we've got Exiled, we've got Straight Gold Find. There is a Damage All Champions, and more of that. So he's really just kind of focusing in on all of that. Yeah. So when you're using, like right now, we're using Brimstone Angels, and then we've got some Grumpy, because those are the best combinations. If I wanted more gold, I would go, if I was purely about gold, I would go Exiled and Lucky, because he can double dip into that and just get all the gold. Specifically, this one, Exiled, was specifically for their kills, but Lucky would increase for everyone, which is why I think that's why they gave it to him, so he could have some kind of general gold find for your party, even if you don't have Farida and Havilar. And we'll stop for a moment to talk about his achievement. This is what everyone's like, how do I get this achievement? Well, you just use Mahen. This is the first time I have ever put him in and tried to manage his stacks to really try to get credit for the achievement. I've earned over 800 stacks just throwing him in a formation and letting it churn like an auto reset. Because, you know, you're sure early on he's not going to gain, like you saw, early on he's not going to get any credit for this. But as you get towards your wall, he would start to get credit. It just worked out that way for me. I did have Havilar in my formation because she's in my speed formations in the front for the reasons we talked about earlier. Double credit on Fiends. So I just got that running a Mad Wizard gem farm, and I got 800 stacks roughly from that. So with Farid and Havilar, super easy to gain his achievement. Without, he's going to need to be up at least in the second row, and you're going to want to go in the right spec to keep his stacks down, probably. Some people were putting him all the way in the front row. Like, if you're just going to try to farm those 1,000 levels, then that's how you do it. This is one that I don't consider an achievement that you go out and try to farm, if I'm being super honest. This is what I just consider a functional achievement. When you're using him correctly, he gets stacks. And eventually it'll show up. And because you don't have to get these achievements in the event, there's no rush. There's no rush to get there. So get them when you do. Get them when you do. So I think that's just kind of people misunderstanding which achievements have to be done in an event and which don't. The only ones that have to be done in an event are these numbered ones. The 175 through 275, the goals that say they have to be done in the Mechanical Menace free play. Everything else can be done at any point in time while you're playing. Any point in time while you're playing. So don't fret about the others. Don't fret about the others. Let me go in and look. Let me just double check. High Harvest Tide was Farida. What was her achievement? Oh yeah, killed 10,000 enemies with Hellish Rebuke. Once again, just use Farida. Just use Farida, because Hellish Rebuke is what's going to kill things when you get near your wall. That's where all the damage is going to come from. So that's a just use Farida one. And then Havilar was... Oof, hold on. I don't remember off the top of my head. I said it earlier. Grand Revel. Grand Revel. So where's Grand Revel? There's Grand Revel. Down here. Where is it? Oh, have Havilar sacrifice 3 different imps within 50 seconds. This one's super easy. This is basically you use the left spec and then you just spam the blow up. This is basically, hey, they're trying to teach you. They gave you this achievement to teach you how to blow things up with the imps. That's it. That's it. All right, folks. We're going to take a short break. Jay has been collecting all the questions. Right over here. So in the second half, I will be looking up here a lot. So all the questions I have right here, I'm going to come back. We're going to go listen to the original version of Brimstone Angels Go, Go, Go. Now, we have a fully produced version now in-game as part of Bardic Inspiration Volume 1. Buy it on Steam and the Epic Games Store. You can buy it. You can take those files with you everywhere. Put them on your phone. Put them on your laptop. You don't have to open Steam or Epic Games to play them once you own them. They're fantastic. And the more you buy it, the more volumes we might get. But anyway, this is the original version. This was the original acoustic version by Jason Charles Miller when he and Dylan and Aaron, who was a guest on that show, wrote along with chat. Brimstone Angels Go, Go, Go. So we're going to listen to that, and then we will be right back with more questions.
When I met the devil, it was a cold and stormy day. I was slightly disheveled, but I felt a spark there anyway. It taught me Eldritch Blast, and I was sure this love would last. They all told me no, but he's the devil that I know. But now we're on the road, and we've got so far to go. Brimstone Angels bound together, here to run the show. We'll hunt down all your foes, we'll punch them in the nose. Brimstone Angels stand together, go, go, go! Summon the devil. It was such a boring day. He wasn't that special. I was glad to walk away. But when we got kicked out, you needed me to bail you out. I raised my blade and send devils to their grave. But now we're on the road, and we got so far to go. on before we find ourselves. From the mountain peaks to the lowest dungeon dells, I have your back through all of the 9 hells, best of sisters. But now we're on the road, and we've got so far to go. Brimstone Angels band together, here to run the show. We'll hunt down all your foes, punch them in the nose. Brimstone Angels stand together, go, go, go. Brimstone Angels stand together, go, go, go.
That is so awesome. I teared up.
Just the best. So wonderful. I'm going to drop the link to that one in chat specifically because if you go back and watch, Aaron, it's such a joy to watch Aaron as he's singing this song that over the course of 2 hours was written live with her in chat. And it's just like at that point, it just kind of really settles in. Oh God, we just made a song about my girls, right? And yeah, she just kind of overflows with joy and it leaks from her eyes, and go watch it. It's fantastic. All right. I do have a note here that says chat wants me to let you know they like the code today. Hey, I'm glad you like it. It felt appropriate since, yeah, imping ain't easy. There's so much to remember with the imps. A lot of people just leave them on cruise control and ignore them. But, if you manipulate them, that can help, especially if you're newer and you're trying to get every last bit out of your champions. Let us see if there are questions that I can answer. How do you reduce Mahen stacks? I think I kind of just went over that. It's basically an adjustment of placement in his placement in the formation, and using his ultimate as you near your wall. And if you've got Farina Havilar, well, obviously that's going to help him do that as well. And then what spec you choose. So there's a lot of different ways to manipulate those stacks, but ultimately it's going to be easier. It's going to settle into kind of where it's supposed to be as you near your wall and things start to slow down a little bit. What else do I got? Question about the Charisma 2 feat. Yeah, it's man. The Charisma 2 feat does a couple things for Havilar. Obviously, anything that's gonna now qualify with a 14 Charisma, she's gonna qualify for. I want to say this was variance, because it's not constant, and that's. She qualifies now for Zariel, but she would have with 13. It does qualify her for Zariel as a patron, because otherwise, she would only, like, if we swap this out, she would only be a 12 charisma. But they went up to 4. The reason they went to 14 has to be also for some variants, and potentially some buffs. So it's gonna multi-effect, but yeah. Let's see. Anything else specific to the Brimstone Angels? This is semi-specific. Do you have physical copies of the books, and will you sell them? That's two. Yeah, that's 2 in 1. Kevin, I think I only have the physical copy of The Adversary, which I think anybody can find. Anybody can find a copy of The Adversary. I would love to find physical copies of the others, but they're out of print. Most of them are out of print. I read them all on ebooks. That you can find them on ebooks just fine. And there's audio versions that apparently are really good as well. But yeah, if you want to collect those Brimstone Angels books, those are super pricey. So if you ever come across anything other than like the first ones, when you're looking, if you could find those at like garage sales, whew, pick them up for $0.25 or $1 or whatever, they go for hundreds. They go for hundreds when you're trying to buy them used. Let's see what else we got. If I'm a new player and I only have Mahen, are the Brimstone Angels something I should focus on in my time gates? I feel like Farida is a DPS that I use a lot. Partly is because I really like Farida. But partly because I feel like she's just a good versatile DPS. The downside to Farida is Hellish Rebuke does not set Bud, and yet Hellish Rebuke is the thing that does the most damage. So in some ways she hasn't worked as well with the switch over to Bud and Bud being based off your base attacks. Otherwise I think she would be like, she could be super competitive in some cases, I think, with a couple minor tweaks like that. But she does solid. I use her in a lot of variants and sometimes a lot of high-end variants. Granted, I do have very good gear on her, right? I mean, that's always something to keep in mind. When she came out, obviously I liked her a lot. I went full in. I've got 3 Goldens and a Shiny just on her. And I've got, look at that, I've got 3 Goldens on Havilar and 2 Shinies, right? So clearly I like the Brimstone Angels. But yeah, I think she is kind of versatile. She definitely functions mainly off the Hellish Rebuke. I do love her for the AoE stuff. So, I mean, if you want another DPS option in your pocket, you know, she comes in a slot where usually you're seeing supports, like Freely and Caddy Bree, swaps with Minsk. But she is going to come in as your DPS. She doesn't do anything but DPS. Javi as a tank in slot 10 is one that I recommend for people when they're looking for a slot 10 and they're not just going to go unlock Alcoria, because Alcoria is difficult to unlock. Havilar is my kind of go-to recommendation for slot 10 to pick someone up out of a time gate. So, you know, yeah. So I think Havilar is definitely on my pick up Havilar list. Farida is like, if you want that extra pocket DPS for variants, grab her. We'll probably get my achievement for this maybe on this stream. That's going to be nice. Man, it's like I'm reading ahead here. Will Hellish Rebuke set Bud? No, Bishop, sorry. Does Hellish Rebuke stack with Human and Esmeralda? Yes! Yes. Human and Esmeralda, everything stacks with Human and Esmeralda. So again, a Human and Esmeralda. Human will give you, if he's in the right place in your formation, he will give you double credit against armored or segmented bosses. Whereas Esmeralda, if you're in the same column with her, will give you double credit on any segmented or armored enemies. So when you combine the two, and you have Farida with Hellish Rebuke, and they're AoEing your whole party, all the credit. Things just disappear. Farida's extra hits, do they affect Grumpy? This is a question that needs to be asked of the developers. It was going to be my question this week for developer insights on Thursday, and then that got canceled because they had a holiday last week, which screws up a lot of the streams that are run by actual CNE peeps because meetings get moved around and they run out of time. I do not know for sure, but here's the thing. Here's what I go off of. This says, if they attack, and not 10% stacks per hit. It says 10% stacks per attack. For other abilities, attack usually means they take the attack action per D&D. However many times they hit in that attack is usually a different thing. That's usually per hit. But that is, so I don't know, because I've had people say, oh, I'm watching my stacks and when you get a multi-hit, it chunks down. I don't know. So I feel like you either have to put in a support ticket and ask for clarity, ask them which one it's doing, or ask in developers insights, or ask in the Q&A session that should be next Tuesday on the Reddit. We need to know from the developer standpoint for sure, because for me, I read that 10% stacks per attack. So to me, it should only be taking 10% off, period, and not 10% per hit because it doesn't read per hit. So if it's pulling it off per hit, it either needs to be changed to per attack, or they need to change the text so everybody understands. And we got to find that out from the devs. We got to find that out from the devs. So I don't have an answer for you there. I know what it should be, but I don't know what it is. Question: do the imps count as an ultimate each time the ultimate is activated, or if one cycle is complete? I'm not sure what you're trying to, I'm not an elementor. I don't know why that matters. You're only getting damage when they blow up. So what credit for using an ultimate would you want? Is it just for ultimate attacks for like a patron challenge? If you're trying to just get credit for like a patron challenge for using an ultimate, it's gonna credit probably every time you hit it. But in terms of but they only do damage on the second part of it, the explosion part. Seems like Mahen loses stacks when switching into his party, or just does not gain any when in a background party. Mahen may not do the stack thing very well in background parties. To be quite honest, he may not do it at all. If he doesn't do it at all, well, it would be difficult. I think if you're pulling him from a background party, or you were offline and then you're restarting, he's probably going to come in with 0. But if you switch over, because it's kind of simulating stuff in the background, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the best thing to do is like what I'm doing right now. I know that this situation should get me credit, because we're getting credit basically every level here. He's always in the thing. If I switch to another party and then let them grab a few levels and then come back, I would need to check, did it credit my achievements or not? And that could be a separate effect. So if you're not seeing credit for achievements and you know that there should be some credit there, submit a ticket. Because a lot of times with the background progress stuff and the offline progress stuff, it needs to be added because that's done via simulation. They may not have triggered the line that makes sure that calculation is included in the simulation. Yeah, I don't know. And things don't always give perfect credit in background or offline progress, like Zorbu kills and whatnot, because it's a simulation. You can get some of it, but not necessarily all of it. Did that one. Any more. How do I get Mahen to achievement? Again, you have to adjust his stacks in all the ways that we've discussed today, up to and including even putting him all the way in the front of the formation if that's what you need to do. But yeah, if you missed that part of the thing and you showed up later, then I urge you, after this is over, go back and watch the little segment where I talked about Mahen. I went over all of the ways to manage that. And I think that's all of the specific stuff right now. Oh, right. Well, we've got one related to the event, but we'll come back to that in a moment. All right. So general questions now. Open up to general questions for the next 45 minutes or so. If I unlock patron Mert before I've completed other adventures, will I still be able to unlock other patrons? Yeah. So there's it says here. Well, I don't have a way to show it to you. But as long as like, it's all about like having only being able to do one at a time or whatever. What that is in reference to is out here. Oh, no, I've got to go to another party, don't I? I've got to go to another party. Hey, let's see. We will come back and we will get to see. So when I'm out here, I can assign an active patron. You can only have one active patron at a time. This is what the reference is when they're talking about patrons. But you can also remove a patron. So it's a little confusing, but what it means is you can only activate one patron at a time. And if you want to use another patron, you have to switch to them. That's specifically the reference that that what you're referring to, I don't remember the exact words because I can't see it because I already have all the patrons, but that's what you're referring to. Ozbody, is it worth it to open a time gate now, or should I wait until after the next opening? I mean, if you've got 6 time gate pieces and you've finished all the stuff for the event, you can open one right now. You don't have to wait. You're going to have 72 hours to finish it, so just make sure you can sit down and do it. Scarlet Adept, using Human middle, bosses die easy, but then 1 minion tanks my entire team for 10 minutes or more. Why? I have lots of Krull pain. I was about to say, it's a Krull thing. Yeah. We talked about this yesterday. And I think I kind of, I don't know if I blew some people's minds, the new players' minds, on how Krull works. But, so, Krull, what's happening is this is partly, this is Krull because, I know it's Krull because you said you have Krull, but it could have been just... It could have just been the boss in Rage Stack. So there are 2 different things that function this. One is, one could have been that because you were on a boss level and the boss was enraging, which means, getting stronger. You see the timer tick up at the bottom. When it enrages, your tanks have ramping damage bonuses, usually, based off the number of enemies they are tanking, but also the number of enrage stacks that there are. And when your boss enrages, that means he's adding stacks to that tank buff, and so your party damage is going up, and when you kill the boss you lose that, and if there are any minions left over, you might not have the damage to kill them. Krull does this on the regular. That's rare to happen on a boss stage. It's basically an RNG effect because you didn't hit all the enemies at once, but Krull does this pretty much on the regular, and we refer to that as Krull's leftovers. Because what happens with Krull is he places 3 plagues on an enemy. One is a pain, one is a pilfer, and one is traitor. Pilfer just makes them drop more gold. Pain makes them take more damage, but the one that's causing the leftovers is traitor. Traitor, when you hit someone with traitor stacks, you turn them into a traitor because they explode in damage out to everyone around them. They don't take the traitor damage, but everyone around them takes traitor damage, and traitor damage is a multiplier on regular base damage that they were hit with. So they got hit with an attack. Let's say they got hit for 1,000,000 points of damage. If they have 10 stacks of traitor, then they do to everyone around them 1,000,000 times whatever the bonus from 10 stacks of traitor is. Well, if that's enough to kill everyone around them, it's going to kill them. But if 1,000,000 wasn't enough to kill the person you hit, they're going to be left standing there by themselves. So in effect, Krull makes someone be a traitor, but Krull, to your progress, can at times be a traitor by leaving you stuck with one enemy that you just can't kill. Because you killed it with the traitor, but you killed everything with the traitor bonus, and now that there's nothing else to apply a traitor bonus to, you're stuck. There are a couple ways to resolve this. One, sometimes in your progress, you will be at a point where hitting an ultimate will do enough damage to kill that enemy. Eventually it won't, though, and then you have to rely on one of these other 2 options. One is Jim. Jim Dark Magic can turn a regular enemy into a chicken, into an abyssal chicken, which has very little health, and you can just clear it off the screen. That tends to be what a lot of people that have Jim just do. They just do that, and they wait for them to turn into a chicken. But the other one is to restart the level and RNG it again. So just back up to the previous level and then turn auto progress back on to take you to that level. Redo that boss fight and hope the RNG goes your way. And usually it will. Yeah. That's tends to be what I do if I just don't want to do the gym thing. I'll just back up and do it again because I don't want to have to swap champions out. That's when you end up with an enemy that is unkillable. That isn't a bug. That isn't some weird feature. That's literally how the game works, both in terms of Krull, and that's usually where we're seeing this, or in terms of ramping damage off of your tanks. One or the other is going to do it. It's very rare that it's the ramping damage off the tanks. I'm going to be honest, very rare. But Very common that it's crawl. Do boss minions have more health? I don't think so. I don't think there's... Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. But there, I don't know. I'm saying I don't think so because I've never gotten to a boss stage and been like, whew, can't kill these minions. Like, I easily killed the ones on the one before, but now these are just impossible. I mean, you're going to see things go up level to level, but specifically in terms of them having, this was specifically like a 4x health pool. I don't think so, but there are people that have, you know, pulled apart. You can go in the Discord. They're in the the well of spoilers and ask. There are sites out there and spreadsheets that have like the health breakdowns for everything, and I just don't recall hearing that specifically get called out, but. Seeing in chat, no, there's an unkillable enemy bug too, where the enemy already has 0 HP but can't be attacked. Sure, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. When you have you can tell when there is an enemy that has 0 health on your screen. You hover over it as 0 health, clearly a bug. What we're talking about are the enemies that have full health, and you were able to kill everybody else, but now you can't kill them. Those are leftovers. Visually very different things. One has visual red health, the other has none, and when you hover over it, there's nothing there. In that regard, you just have to back up a level and do it again when you're stuck with that bug. How does multi-tank mitigate big boss fights like the Icewind Dale one? I got through it by RNG bud spam, but it'd be good to know how additional tanks would help. So again, oh hey, we got my achievement. Tanks, sometimes tanks need to be in a certain spec for this to apply, but tanks generally have a health share feature. We talked about that with Havilar. Oh, where'd my mouse go? Here we go. We talked about that with Havilar. It is her Infernal Fortitude. So increase the health of all other champions in the formation by 25% of Javi's max health. If they are an actual tank, they should have this feature somewhere. Nayeli has to be in her devotion spec to get this, which is why I tend to tell people if you're going to tank with Nayeli, she needs to be in devotion, because otherwise you're not getting this extra health. Nayeli also gets more health in her devotion spec. So putting more tanks into a formation, even if they're not in the front line, means you are making your whole party more survivable against AoE damage. So in a fight like Oral or Valendra, you need multiple tanks. You need at least 2, sometimes 3, to be able to survive, just straight up survive, even sometimes with health potions. And don't forget health potions too. That's another way to do it. But health potions don't matter if you're not actually buffing. Like if we take Havilar out, and then we look at Mahen's health. Mahen has 2781 health, and Farida has 2662, right? But once we put Havilar in, Mahen now has EO8 health. Kind of a small bump, right? Yeah. So this is an EO8 health share just from one tank, right? Now if I go to add, say, Briv Steel Marrow, I'm leaving that Know You're Grumpy up just so people know you can actually get it. So now, we had EO8 before. What do we have now? Well, we have EO8, but we have a higher EO8. So 2 tanks, we went from, I think we went from like 1 EO8. Yeah, 1.45 EO8. I add a tank, I go up to 356 EO8, so, you know, 2 to roughly between 2 and 3 times more health. That's going to help. And then if we add a third, let's add Dragon Bait. People are like, what do I use Dragon Bait for? Dragon Bait's great, folks. Dragon Bait is one of those tanks that doesn't have to be in front. Like Briv needs to be in front because he buffs everyone behind him. But Dragon Bait buffs within certain spaces of himself. So when you're adding in an extra tank, Dragon Bait is great because he doesn't have to go in the front line. So now with Dragon Bait in, we've gone up to 9.05 EO8. Yeah. So, you know, when you're adding in extra tanks. The health goes up quite a bit. Obviously, depending on the health of the tanks that you're using. So if you're putting a tank in specifically for health, sometimes some tanks are going to be better for others. But yeah, there we go. Know you're grumpy. Know you're grumpy. I need the emphasis in the right place. 1,000 areas. Obviously, I built this formation to finish that off, but I already had a bunch already. So it is doable. What does that put me at now? All. 478 out of 482. I'm missing a couple. Well, I know I'm missing a couple there. What am I missing here? Oh, Shaka's. I need to do Shaka's puzzle. I haven't done his puzzle stacks. I can tell. Yeah, I've only done 84, and that was without even... I think I set it up once and ran, and then I've just got to do that a couple times. What else am I missing? I'm missing these three. I'm missing the basically E200 gold, which I'm in no rush to get. The 5,000 item levels, again, I'm not even halfway there. No rush to get. And then 80 feats. At some point I just need to buy more feats. I'm only 13 away from that one. I'll get there eventually. No rush. Oh, what was the total though? Hold on, I missed. Wrong button, Gaarawarr. I always confuse those two for whatever reason. 2 EO4 bonus. Okay. I'll take it. MTI, do Electrum chests prioritize filling out gear slots you don't yet have filled? So, this is a yes and no answer. They will not fill empty slots in your collection, but if you have literally no gear in a slot, so down here it would show as the little black box with the X through it, then it will prioritize putting something in there. Which is why I hold on to my Electrums and open them when we get new champions, because I'm guaranteed that I'm going to get those guaranteed 6 items for those first 6 empty slots on a brand new champion. If you're picking up 3 brand new champions in an event, then you've got 18 chests guaranteed Electrums that you're going to go through, and it's more efficient to save those for an event than to go farm and then open up the silvers for the regular champion. Morning, Mars. Surreal one. I have a time gate available. Is there a way to know which champ to pick for split the party that won't conflict with next week's time gate? No, you can't. You won't know what's in next week's natural time gate, or I should say this coming Friday's natural time gate, until it opens. So just pick what you want. Whatever you think you need right now, and then you cross your fingers on the natural. Is there anything I can do about monsters freezing and blocking progress on boss levels in Tomb of Annihilation? I don't know what that's in reference to. Freezing and blocking progress. I don't know what that means. Nickade? If you're running into a bug, submit a ticket. Otherwise, if you run onto that, you're just going to have to back up. Like I said before, back up a level, and then turn auto progress back on, and hope that bug then doesn't affect you. But there could be freezing and blocking progress. There could be something specific going on in a variant or an adventure or something that's happening, but I don't know what that is. But that's not enough information for me to go off of, unfortunately. I just got 2 heroes in each slot. Nice. I poked at the unlock a new party event. I didn't make it far. Any suggestions for what I should have before I try again? Cylindra Sama. Yeah, go watch my video, Gaarawarr's Guide to... well, did I do a split the party one? No, I can't remember. I do have a written guide on the Reddit, Gaarawarr's Guide to split the party. I did a video guide recently for Split the Party 2, and I talked about Split the Party 1 in there, but I can't remember. Did I do a one for Split the Party 1? Okay. All right, yeah, so there's guides out there that will help you, and I know I talk about them. But there's definitely a written one, so go read the written one, and then you can watch everything else. Should be helpful. I mean, if you have 2 champs in each... I think, but you say you didn't get very far. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say you probably got to like 15 and got slaughtered by that boss. And I definitely go over that. definitely go over that. Is Havilar worth time gating this weekend? I've been playing 2 weeks, almost have 6 time shards. I mean, that's Scarlet Adept. That's a choice you have to make. I like her as a slot 10 swap. So if you still need a slot 10 for Split the Party, and you don't think you can unlock Alcoria, Alcoria is very hard. Then that's a great slot 10 swap to get you ready for Split the Party, and get you a decent second tank. The question that is to be asked is, are you close to unlocking Mert? Like if you have to choose between unlocking Mert or Split the Party, the general consensus is unlocking or doing a time gate. The general consensus is unlock Mert first, so you can pick up time gate pieces faster each week. I usually base that around how much time is left before the patron chore reset, which is Monday. So you wouldn't have a lot of time to earn your time gate piece this week. But if you could do it, if you think you got the time and you think you can do it, you could spend 3 time gate pieces to unlock Mert, and then get one of those back before Monday, and then get another one back on Monday, and then get another one with your next time gate drop, and have those 6 again pretty quickly. Okay. Jay says, if you're looking for the original Split the Party, it was before we had a Saturday show, so it's probably under a GG2E episode. But yeah, I did talk about, I did compare Split the Party 1 and Split the Party 2. Split the Party 2 in the recent Split the Party 2 guide. Split the Party 2 is functionally pretty darn close, and I explain a lot of the same stuff. But everything is explained differently in the written guide. 2 questions. Who chooses the content focus for these streams? Oh, for the streams on this channel. So all the streams. Assume it's a collab between the streamers and CNE. Also, who chooses the chess codes for each stream? Wow. So this is a little inside baseball. Or, I mean, CNE decides what streams they want to have on their channel. Clearly. And then for this specific show, Dylan and I sit down once every couple months, and I take I track in a document, I track like feedback of what I've heard people say that they'd like guides on, and I compare that, and we compare that to everything that we've ever done these shows on, because we've done a lot now, folks. We've done a lot of these now, over 30 episodes of this Saturday show, which is the tutorial show. So a lot of the primary topics have already been covered. So we sit down and we try to figure out, well, what else do people need help on that actually fits in a show? Because a lot of times people have questions or topics they want covered, but it's like there's not enough to do like an hour on. And we try to come together, the both of us, and come up with ideas. But on like my Friday show, I have asked them for what they want to do, and generally I try to talk about a couple things or whatever's going on in the week, but like they don't really tell me what to talk about. That's just a Q&A show. That's just like that's all about what you all want to talk about. I answer questions like I'm doing now. But as far as like the other shows, I don't know, because I'm not on them. I don't know. I assume there's some coordination between CNE and the hosts of those shows as to what topics are being covered so that they're relevant to what's going on in the community. But I don't know. I'm not on them. As for chess codes, generally the chess code is just a random generated chess code, which is why you'll see the random assortments of letters. However, on this show, they were nice enough to allow me to pick. When I started, I was like, so on the Friday show, yeah, we're just going to do the generic chess code. But on the Saturday show, can I pick a name? Can I pick them? Can I make them my own so they can be thematically appropriate? And they were like, yeah, we'll let you do that for the other one. But not all of them, because that's too much. But yeah, so I pick the codes for this show. I do, me. So yeah, I try to make it something either thematically appropriate or a pop culture reference that works, or something like that. Merciful AJD, excuse me. Do you have a golden ratio for blessings? I'm not going to ask exactly what you want to know there. What I'm going to say is when you're buying blessings, just make sure that the warnings enable is checked. As long as this is checked, go buy. Whatever it lets you buy. If it lets you buy it without a warning pop up when you have this checked, buy it. Otherwise, don't. Otherwise, don't. Oh, hey, we're finally to a point where I could demonstrate Mahen's. Warning, folks, things are about to get flashy. Things are about to get flashy, probably. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, now we have all the flashings, so we're going to go back a level and see if we can... Oh, maybe we'll come back. Okay, we'll see if we can build up some bosses. Here we go. That was Mahen's thing. That was still super fast because I've still got a speed potion going. But as you could see, it like hit everything, and now his for a short period of time, his meter would have been locked in the middle. Speed potions are a thing, folks. Probably should just use 15-minute ones. Anyway, it doesn't really work if you've got all this stuff turned off, like I normally do. Oh wait, I'm gonna turn this back down. I usually have everything at low, just so when it's AFKing in the background, I don't. It doesn't drain my resources much. Hopefully. I have 2 slots with only 1 champion. Do free time gates favor those slots? No. It's entirely random. Well, it's not entirely random. The natural time gates will give you one of the options will be a year 1 champion. That bucket has only got year 1 champions. Hopefully it starts adding year 2, or maybe they make another bucket year 2, because year 2 champions now you can't get either. A lot of them. Another one, the other 2 are going to be from different kind of buckets of possible champions. You are guaranteed, as long as you do not own all the champions, you are guaranteed to get at least 1 champion you do not own. At least 1. That's the only determinations that you get, though. There's going to be guaranteed a year 1 champion, and then 1 champion will be guaranteed that you don't own. That doesn't mean those are going to be the same thing. That could be the same thing, or it could be different. Like you might get a year 1 you already own, or yeah, I don't know. It's just random though. I only have 4 familiars, and it's going to be a while till I get my 5th. I need 3 on the field, but where should I put the 4th? Well, at the start of your run, when click damage still matters, you would put 1 here, and then you'd put 3 on the field. Now you do this until the click damage level you're at is equal to the area you're on. So like I am at area 405 now, but my click damage is at 380. Now I'm still instantly killing stuff, but that's because of other things. But normally at this point I would remove this. If it was still at 40, if it was like 410 instead of 380. Then I would leave it out. But once it roughly equalizes, then there's no point in continuing to put gold into your click damage levels, and then you'd remove it. Now the level that this gets to comparative to this is based wholly on the amount of favor you have in a campaign. So for some people that might be 5 levels. For others it could be 50, and for some it could be 380. And that's just something you have to keep an eye on. At that point, though, then you can do whatever you want. You could put the 4th one out here. Usually, when I'm done doing click damage, I mean, these out here aren't going to do any click damage if this isn't up, unless you have a fire breath potion active. But then, then sometimes I'll have them roaming the ultimate bar, which is right up here. I don't do that with Havilar because I don't want to screw up her imps. So in those cases, then I would put it directly on an ultimate. Or you could have them level up champions, but if you don't have enough to level up all your champions... So usually there's going to be a point with 4 where you're just going to want them. You're going to want all 4 roaming the ultimate bar to help you AFK push. Can I ask what heroes... Adamethius, can I ask what heroes are best to go with Black Viper? I want her to be my main DPS. I mean, so there's an easy answer to this question, and the easy answer is... whatever your best support champions are, right? You don't necessarily... She kind of does want to be built around, but at the same time, if you don't have a lot of options, you just use who you got, and you run with it. If we go look at Black Viper, though, she specifically calls out who she wants to work with in here. So the first call out, there's an upgrade in here, but we'll just go straight to Aura of Infamy. All positional formation abilities she receives from Warlocks, Rangers, Rogues, and Bards. All right. Now, Warlocks and Rangers are added by getting 10 gems, but that's super achievable. So Warlocks, Rangers, Rogues, and Bards. So Calliope is a good one, is a good example. Rangers, isn't Shandy classified as a ranger? No, she's classified as a rogue, but rogues. So Shandy would be one. But that's how you have to look. Like, are the support champions that I have, they're solid, that provide positional formation abilities. So ones that aren't all champs damage, but ones that are directed. Are they the solid champions that I want, and are they this class? If so, if they're that class, then that's probably going to be a little better for you, right? Because she can buff it. Now, the amount she buffs is based off a lot of factors. Like I have an item with a lot of levels, and I can upgrade her a lot. So that's going to vary, but you are going to get more of a bonus if it's like that. So Spurt is another one. Spurt's a rogue inventor. So you can use Black Viper, and she wants specifically to be Warlock, Rangers, Rogues, and Bards with those positional formation abilities. Yep. I just realized Zorbu is a Ranger. Ooh. Zorbu can support, but a lot of times he then, depending on how stacked your Zorbu is, Zorbu might take over as primary DPS over Black Viper. Zorbu is one of the top 2 DPS in the game, so he's a little overpowering. Hako, for a beginner, it's even possible to complete Volo's guide. See, I can't deploy anyone in slot 2. Oops, that's the wrong button. So this is one of the variants from this event. Let me just go double check. I believe this is the males only. Yeah, Volo's Guide to Grumpy Guides. In my event guide on Reddit, Scar's Guide to the Great Modron March Year 4, I list out all the available champions that you can use. And I even tell you, straight up, if you don't have a lot of options, you're going to need a lot of favor. So yes, it is doable, even if you don't have a slot 2. For every champion you can't field, though, you need a lot more favor. So if you have less than E10 favor, and you don't have a decent formation that you can build, it's going to be super challenging, if not impossible. So keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind. Here, we'll just throw. There was her ultimate. Now we finally got to see her ultimate push people back and slow them down. Do you have to complete the split the party quest if you're only playing with a single party and want to automate the foreground proc? Yes. Do you get the core without completing the quest? No. The core specifically is called out as a reward for completing split the party, along with getting a second party. So you have to complete split the party. That doesn't mean you have to use your second party. Right now, I'm not using either of them because I've been focusing on completing lots of variants this week. So I wanted all my potential champions available to do those variants. So I don't have anything. Oh no, I guess I should have been using my speed core. Oh well. Yeah. So no, you have to complete it. Logical. Once you have full epics on core evergreen champs, does the feat drop chance increase in gold chests? No. No, it's a feat drop chance in gold chests is 1 in 25 with no pity timer. Kegels for classes that are split, like Keelek has Cleric Bard. Will Jaheira's boost apply to both, or does it depend on the specialization chosen for Keelek? Specializations don't change your class, so it's basically when someone is dual multiclassed, they could qualify for if something is going to buff either bards or clerics, you could pick either one and it works because it works. I don't know that you get double credit. I think it's just a binary yes, you get this buff. I don't think you'd get it for being a cleric and a bard, like a duplicating. I believe it's just do you qualify under these guidelines, and if yes, then you get the buff. Are there a lot of champions whose later abilities are changed by specialization choice? Like where the abilities themselves are changed? I feel like this is coming off of a Nayeli comment. So early on, like some of the early champs, not only did it change how they functioned, but it also changed like when and where and what upgrades they would get. Grama is an example of this. Grama literally changes her role based off specialization. She can be a tank, a support, or a DPS. And when you make those different choices, her subsequent abilities that you get change. And how she functions change. And even when you choose Swamp Spec, her base attack changes. So Nayeli is one of these because she doesn't get her health share. She doesn't get some of her health upgrades. So there are some of those early champions, like either core or early event champions, that are like that, but they have moved away from that design philosophy to a certain extent to try to make things more situational, in terms of either how the formation layout is presented or what champions are in your formation that you're trying to synergize with. Yeah, that tends to be the more recent design philosophy. So there are a few older champions, and Makos is one. Makos, between Dark Blessing and Dark Luck, gets different abilities. So again, some of those early champions. All of this I do like in my guides to specific guides to champions. When you go in and you open that up and you get to the portion where it shows you all their upgrades so that you can see what they get completely and where. If they have multiple paths that change their upgrades, I will do those blocks each time, and it will call out at the front, at the top here, this is for specialization choice, whatever. And then the next one then outlines them all. So if you see that break, you'll see it. But if you're just talking about like with Mahen, where Mahen gets, another stack and it's a multiplier, like that's more just you're modifying, you're buffing how something works, and you're changing the feature. That's not what I would qualify as the ability itself being changed. So the ability itself being completely changed was, there's some out there, but I couldn't tell you what they all are off the top of my head. Is there any difference between the gold colored coin drops and the silver ones? Yeah. And technically I believe it's platinum. So normally you're going to see gold coins drop regardless of shape. If you see a platinum coin drop, that means there is something going on, like one of your champions has an ability to increase the amount of gold that an enemy drops when it dies. That's reflected in that platinum coin. Some champions, specifically like Cathris, will take stuff from you, and they'll drop a different colored coin. And I think those are usually like a pinkish red or magenta or something like that. You're getting less from those. Yeah. How much blessings do you need to get to area 1,000? All of them. Yesterday on Gaarawarr's Guide to Everything in Idle Champions, I tried to do a 1001 push live on stream, but it was just too slow. It was too slow. I should have used more speed potions. I did end up getting there later that night with that same formation. Didn't touch anything, didn't have to change anything. I knew it could get there. I was so confused why it stalled out for some reason earlier on, but it was able to push to 1001 later on. And then just sat on 1001 and farmed for me. So odd. So odd. But yeah, probably all of them. I mean, is there some other method you could get there without all the blessings? Maybe, but generally to push that far in the game, you need all of them. What is a time gate free play grant? Favor. for one. Like if you want to get more favor out of a time gate for whatever reason. It also gives you the opportunity to push deep and earn more silver chests, because time gates are different than events. Time gates award you silver chests based off how far you push in terms of unique 100 levels. So if the furthest you can push is like level 207, then you're going to get 2 silver chests. You don't necessarily, if you did that during the regular adventure, you don't need to do that during you don't need to run a free play. You're already there, and it wouldn't be worth your time trying to push to 300. However, if you got to like 178, and you think you could pull off to like during the base adventures or in the variant, and you're like, well, I've got enough power to get to 200, then you would do a free play to get to 200. Like I myself can go very far. I usually just stop around 7 or 8 chests. So getting to like 700 or 800. But that's what free plays are for in a time gate. They're not like events where you can just churn multiple chests just by going to 50. That's an event thing. Events and time gates are different. Secretity, are achievement damage bonuses additive or multiplicative? Multiplicative. Which is why you end up with... I did it again. I don't know why I confuse the $ with the cup for achievements. I do it all the time. But that's how you end up with an EO 4% bonus. I mean, I obviously have a lot through all of these. But, yeah. Yep. I'm missing everybody's going to have a different number here in total. I have some legacy achievements. I have 7 out of 8. I thought it was 5 out of 6, but I have 7 out of 8. I'm missing Calliopes because I couldn't be bothered back then. Calliopes was the most painful grind back in the day. I wasn't even gonna bother. And then there's like one bonus achievement that's like a community like contributor or something. Only a handful of people have that one. That one's given out manually by C&E, but those don't. The legacy and that one don't give any bonuses. Can you explain how a fire breath works when it says it adds X seconds of your bud? Yeah, I mean it should be pretty straightforward. So your bud is, if you look at bud, if it says your hit was a bunch of damage, but then it divides it by the number of seconds your base attack cooldown is, to give you your actual damage per second, and that actual damage per second is your bud. So if you take a fire breath potion, let me get an exact number here. This says 60 seconds worth of bud, and it can go up to 600, right? So that is just 60 times 132 E103. So that's going to take me up to E104 because it's 60. There's a 0 there that I'm adding. That takes me up to E104 and then multiplies the rest by 6. And if that brings me up another E because it was like above a 2, then so be it. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward math. So it's, the 60s are going to add, and these are additive. If you stack multiple fire breath potions together, they're additive, not multiplicative. So the small one's going to give you another E01 roughly, and 6 times the bonus plus another E01 roughly. So not a whole bunch in terms of giving you extra damage. And then but if you put them all together, like 600, obviously this is going to give you EO2 bonus at minimum. But this would be 9,050, 1110. So if you were to stack all of them, you would have 1,110 seconds. So that's an EO3 bonus to your bud. I guess there's going to be situations where that's going to help you push. But at some point, you're going to have debuff champions out, and debuff and fire breath don't work together very well. I mean, yes, your base attack is going to hit a debuff champion, and that's going to set your bud. But then that fire breath doesn't Like, it doesn't take the debuff into account. It doesn't double dip, so, or shouldn't. They fixed that at one point. I don't know if it broke again, but yeah. So keep that in mind. Fire Breath is usually what I throw on after I've reached my click damage wall. So when I'm not instant click killing anymore, at times I will throw, which lets me progress real fast through the lower levels. Then I'll throw a Fire Breath potion on, and that will just help me race through those intermediate levels where normally I would have to wait for champion attacks to kill things. That's normally what I use Fire Breath potions for, because usually at my wall, Fire Breath potions aren't going to push me further, but it just depends. Do cores provide a bonus other than being able to run multiple adventures? Cores and multi-adventures are two different things, Metason. The core is its own buff system. So we view this core. Boom. Yeah, this has a whole Modron flow system, which we call the pipe game. That you've got to do placements for, that gives you buffs at these different nodes, and they all stack up, multiply against each other, and give you lots and lots of bonuses. That is a whole buff, bonus, and power system that is your core. It also is your half of your automation system. Familiars are the other half. Multiple party mode, though, is just different parties. You literally do not have, I do not have to have Modrons to use these background parties. I can just throw stuff in them. And when you're leveling your core, you want it in your first party anyway. You don't want it in a background party. So those are two different systems that you unlock at the same time. Spec should I use for Nova as a tank? The general consensus is 99% of the time you're going to want to go with the one that gives the bonus to everyone in the party. Are there exceptions to that? Yes, but generally one give spread to everybody in the party. Should just focus on doing the free play stuff. I already did the variants. In regards to the events, then work on getting a Zaka for favor farming. I mean, yeah, churn through your tokens, because this is the last weekend of the event. The event ends Monday at noon Pacific, and at that point, all your tokens go poof. When it hits noon Pacifically, the tokens go away. You need to spend them before then. The best way to spend them is to do free plays. Complete Area 50, get a random chest. That's better than spending 10,000 in the store, because for those 4 free plays, because they cap out at 2,500, for 4 free plays, you're going to get 4 chests, one of which is guaranteed to be a gold. The others could be silvers or golds, so it's a better use of your tokens to spend them on running those this weekend than to just spend them buying stuff out of the store. Going to try to answer the last few questions here, and then we will be out because we're out of time for today. Jaheira's lingering anger abilities is showing up on my other champs' incoming buffs list. I'm going to pull Jaheira up here real quick. If it's a damage all, I have to just check. If it's a damage all champions buff, it won't, because that just increases the damage of all champions. It's not a positional formation ability. Yeah. Lingering Air increases the damage of all champions. So it's just there. It's just there. It's not something that is an incoming effect. It is just a general a global effect for your entire party. What should I spend my blacksmithing contracts on? Event and time gate champions. Don't use them on core and evergreen. I've been saving them until I understand the game better. Yeah, and that's totally fine. I would continue to save them. I don't know that you need to use them right away. What you usually do is you wait until you find out what champions you're using all the time. They're kind of the core of your formations, and then you spread them out amongst those. But again, you don't want to put them on core or evergreen champions. Is it worth buying chests or event currency? No. Should I keep running the variants hoping for gold? Yes. Variants cost around 2,000. Well, they max at 2,500, so yes. Yes. Yeah. And that's that. The last question is the same thing. Last question's the same thing. So that's going to be it for this week, folks. We didn't get as many questions today. We have still got almost 1,000 people in chat, but not as many questions. So I don't know. Does that mean everybody knows the answers now? I don't feel like that's appropriate. Well, not appropriate, but I don't feel like it's accurate. So yeah, if you have more questions, we'll be back again next week. Mars will return for his type of Q&A show on Wednesdays. We will have on Wednesday a content drop. content drop. I think it's more based off Griddle Champions yesterday. I think it's more Icewind Dale stuff. So content drop on Wednesday, which means, I mean, there's more streams before then, but that means Wednesday morning Champions of Lore will be talking about that kind of stuff, and then Mars will show you the new content live on stream that afternoon. Yeah. And then I'll be back as always on the weekend, but we should be back. There's no more Monday shows for the moment, so Tuesday, Champions of Psychology should happen, but I don't know if Bardic Inspiration is or not. If you don't know, on Tuesdays, after Champions of Psychology, I stream Idle Champions on my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr, right down there. So coming out with me on Tuesdays when they don't have, Bardic Inspiration is off next week. Okay, so I will do a longer version of my Idle Chatter show on Tuesday. So if you want some more Idle Champ stuff, you can stop by my channel on Tuesday. And I'll be hanging out over there, probably doing variants. I tend to do difficult variants, or I try to judge and see what are difficult variants. And I've been working through some of the Zerial stuff, trying to do harder Zerial stuff on that show. So you can come hang out over there, but I'll answer questions about whatever. And we're going to go out. What's our song? Oh, hey. So the Brimstone Angels books start out. They start out in a mountain, the city, but they end up in Neverwinter, and there's a Neverwinter song from Bardic Inspiration, Neverwinter Dreams. So we're going to listen to Neverwinter Dreams on the way out. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. Get vaccinated if it's available to you. Super nice. So that we can all hang out again at conventions at some point in the future. I'm out. Bye, everybody.
Soaked by winter rains, I stumbled to the gate, seeking out my fortune. I was running from my fate, walking at the sunset, searching for the love I haven't met. The days they fade away, but my heart yearns to stay. It never win a night, never winter dreams. never win a night. Never winter dreams, always shining bright.